Hello, and welcome to this webinar on BI modernization with Looker and Bitwise. My name is Nathan Nichols, Head of Partnerships here at Bitwise. We have a packed agenda for you today, covering introductions to Bitwise and Looker, followed by recommendations for BI modernization and real-world Looker implementation case study. We'll also have time for Q&A at the end of the session, so feel free to send your questions via the question feature or contact us at any time at sales@bitwiseglobal.com. Joining me today are two presenters well qualified to talk about BI modernization. Dhananjay Shind, a BI solution architect at Bitwise, brings over 8 years of extensive experience in designing and developing BI solutions and delivering end-to-end BI implementations. Bill Penchek is a regional sales director with well over 4 years at Looker and a demonstrated history in the computer software industry. Before I pass things over to Bill and Dhananjay, let me first provide a quick introduction to Bitwise. Bitwise, a global technology consulting and services company, uses over 23 years of enterprise data management experience to help bridge gaps between traditional EDW and cutting-edge technologies, including big data and cloud. What truly sets Bitwise apart is our technology leadership in creating unique accelerators and frameworks that reduce the time, complexity, and cost of large-scale initiatives, such as BI modernization and cloud migrations. Founded in 1996, Bitwise is headquartered in Chicago, Illinois, with our UK office in London and global delivery centers in Pune, India. As a technology solutions provider, we help our global clients leverage data to enable business insights and maximize their competitive advantage. To this end, we partner with the leading data and analytics companies, including Google Cloud, Talend, Snowflake, and of course, Looker. And with that, I'd like to pass things over to Bill to provide an introduction to Looker. Bill?
Thanks, Nathan. I appreciate that. So guys, what I'd like to do is just initially cover Looker as a company and our value proposition in the market. I'll also touch on the architecture of our Looker data platform to give the audience the ability to see, how Looker works behind the scenes. So Looker was founded about 7 years ago, and our founder, Lloyd Tabb, had a vision that, the market would shift. We would shift from the likes of a Teradata, an Oracle, SQL Server databases to more faster columnar data stores such as Google BigQuery, Amazon Redshift, and Snowflake. And that bet has paid off, right? So what you see today in the marketplace is these very, very performant and fast data stores. And Looker as a technology takes advantage of those data stores. And I'll get into more detail around our architecture and how that works. When you think about the analytics industry, and I spent a number of years at Business Objects, 20 to 25 years ago, Business Objects, MicroStrategy, and Cognos were the first providers of analytics outside of Excel, right? And those companies laid the tenets of some really strong architecture. And then as we evolved, about 10 to 15 years ago, Qlik and Tableau came onto the marketplace and developed a very visualization, user-friendly, Excel-like technology, which took the market to another innovation. And really, the end users liked it because it was very Excel-like and the visualizations were very good. So we feel that today, Looker is positioned to be that third wave business intelligence analytics data platform vendor to take advantage of what's happening in the marketplace with these data lakes. As you can see, we're looking to power data democracy with over 2,000 customers, 500 developers, And as you can see here on the bottom, Looker is data agnostic as well as cloud agnostic. So we support all of these different data stores as well as the different cloud providers. So as I mentioned, really our architecture takes advantage of these new columnar databases. And what we have is in-database architecture. So many people might hear that terminology and say, well, what is that? How does that make Looker different? So really what it does, it eliminates latency. At the end of it, if you took anything away from our architecture, is that the Looker is going to stay in database, making sure that when the end user clicks refresh on their dashboard, that they're getting up to the minute, up to the second data. As you can imagine, in today's day and age with a very competitive landscape, business users need to make decisions in a very short period of time. So they can't have the data going out into a cube of data where there's latency, and they can't have it going out into memory, which some of our competitors have done. So getting back to my earliest remarks about Looker being positioned for that third wave of business intelligence, that makes Looker suited for that. And then the next thing is our semantic layer. The ability to have a single source of the truth, to have all the end users working off of the same measures and dimensions, just makes it that much easier for the end user to compute that data. And then lastly, which we'll talk about in our business use case, is API extensibility. Looker takes 99% of our product and will allow you to utilize that into a JavaScript application, into a portal, so that you can now have Looker as part of your environment for your customers or for your internal users. But it really sets Looker up to be that very user-friendly, what we call powered by Looker solution. So as this just talks about, our architecture in a little bit more detail, as you can see here, when you think about most companies, they have production applications that are coming from myriad of databases. And what we say or profess as a company is just extract and load centrally, and then Looker will do the transformation at query time. So as long as the data is put into that centralized data lake, and what you find in today's climate is that these companies, or most companies, are putting it into those databases that I mentioned. In the purple layer, what you find is the ability for us to create that semantic layer, or that single source of the truth. And then up above, it gives you the different workflows that you can tailor to the use case. So as you can see here, Home Depot is using it to replace Splunk. From a security standpoint, they're running 120,000 events on Looker to notify them if there's any breach in their security. Comcast is using it to infuse workflows with data into their different systems to allow end users to interact with the data in applications that they are using on a daily basis. So this kind of gives you some examples of how other companies are utilizing Looker. And then this talks to the value proposition, again, around the Looker data architecture. And it allows companies as well as users to do so many different things with Looker as a data platform. One of the things that I feel personally about or strongly about is the fact that an end user gets data, they're always going to want to ask that next why question. So when you see this modern self-service BI, it allows that end user to now have the dashboard as a starting point, not as an endpoint. And really what that means is that they can now drill and filter on that data very easily within the Looker interface. But just say that they say, all right, this is great. I understand why we're making money in this region, but I want to understand some more details around that. But the data is not there. So instead of going out and asking a more technical IT person to get them more data, they can do it themselves via an ad hoc analysis. And what drives that is our semantic layer. The ability for that end user to point and click on that measure or dimension. Looker creates the SQL behind the scenes, brings the data back into their dashboard, and now within a couple of clicks, they're just more productive. The other thing that I'd like to point out too is the ability to have near real-time alerts. So, our scheduling mechanism allows customers to set up thresholds based on a certain value. And if that value falls below or above a certain metric, automatically have Looker notify an individual and or a group that something has changed. And that could be put into a form of a text message. It could be an email. It could be a number of different things that alert that end user or that group of folks. So as you can see here, as Looker is a data platform, we allow many aspects of infusing data to the end users in different formats, into applications, into an email, into a text, put it into a Slack, into a Slack message. So a lot of different ways to notify that end user.
Thank you, Bill. The repetition of common BI problems might demotivate businesses to lose and question the value of business intelligence. Before we dive into these problems, I would like to thank each and every one of you for joining us today for this presentation. Thank you. I'm sure you'll find it useful. So what are the common challenges we may face in BI modernization? Identifying these challenges is really important first step in formulating sound BI strategy. Let's take a look into some of these challenges. Please note that these are not all-inclusive list. There may be other challenges which would be specific to the industry and the business domain. So the first and most common challenge would be the data varieties. Nowadays, industries find it difficult to access the right data at the right time. And even if they do find what they're looking for, data formats are typically so complex and unstructured, it's hard to aggregate that data to be consumed by the BI tool. Not considering the data varieties upfront may set up your BI strategy to fail. Once the data varieties are identified, next comes the data integration. Getting this data from these various sources and putting it into the format that is consumable for BI platform is the next problem to solve. Getting this data timely manner is also an important business aspect, as processing data in real time facilitates prompt decision making. The next challenge is the skill and effort. The skill and effort that is required to make your BI strategy a reality. Many times companies might have a well-articulated requirement, a sound BI strategy, and a good tool solution, but lack of technical skill like designing, building, maintaining, and supporting BI application. This results in BI application to run slowly, break frequently, deliver uncertain results, and eventually leading to rising cost of using the BI solution. The causes of lack of execution often are multiple and varied, as are its remedies. The data security is yet another concern that has to be addressed. Security of data at rest, as well as prevention of unauthorized exposure, is a very important aspect of securing business assets. Your BI strategy should blend well with the enterprise security considerations and should no way compromise the data security. The next challenge would be the scalability. The scalability from functional as well as non-functional aspect is something that we should be considering. The functional scalability consists of how hard to add new features to your platform. The non-functional aspect of it, which is also our next challenge, is the performance. How well a system behaves under a load and latency in a system defines its usability by different stakeholders. Gone are the days when executives used to wait for days to get the report they requested. It is a generation of the self-service where the information is expected in the real time. Though all of us know that how important BI and the analytics is in decision making and the growth of our organization, it may not be primary revenue generating stream for most of the organization. And so the business may not be keen on spending a lot on these kind of systems. That's where the cost control comes into the picture. Getting maximum out of BI platform while keeping cost low is a key challenge to solve. And the last but not least is the installation and the deployment. In today's agile world, time to market has become a key element in successful product. Getting system up and running quickly is a goal of every organization, which heavily relies on the BI strategy. Apart from getting it up and running, deploying incremental changes are also important to get the new functionalities to the production and make it live for the users. So with this challenges, let's now talk about some of the considerations to successfully tackle these common challenges. The considerations that mentioned here are the general guidelines, and those might need to be tweaked based upon the business needs. So the consideration in incorporating the data for variety of sources would contain the different formats of data from various sources, structured versus unstructured data, melting together this data from various sources so that it can be used by BI platform, different data storage options, the creation of an integrated platform that can store huge volume of data while organizing and analyzing it to your specifications. So all those things needs to be considered when we are talking about varieties of the data. Once the data sources are identified and the data storage options are decided, it is time to think about the data integration strategy. Data pipelines could play a vital role in data integration. A BI solution, which could be loaded with automatic ETL capabilities to process data sets that needs to be restructured, will be a real solution here. This will enable users to create a single source as well as front end with data visualization capabilities. Ideally, the back end of the solution would be to manipulate the data for it to be analyzed in the front end. Also, the ability to capture a process and its data from multiple sources in real time facilitates the prompt decision making. The next one is the polyglot data persistence, and it may need to be considered if data from various sources cannot be aggregated in single data storage option. Mix of data storage technologies need to be used in that case, and your BI platform should be able to work against all these data storage options effectively. The next one is the embedded analytics, but I will skip it for now as we are going to discuss it in brief later in this presentation. Lots of organizations may not be satisfied with the BI system they already have. If the executives in organizations are still using an Excel extensively to get insight from their BI system, then that is the indication of the deficiency they have in their BI system. A good practice would be to replace Excel sheet with intuitive dashboards to make data more engaging, meaningful, and eventually very powerful. Hence, for this BI solution, should provide the ability to create advanced filters and calculation all without coding. A self-service business intelligence solution enables executives to create a customized report in no time with little involvement of IT once the entire solution is implemented. In data security, selection of storage options and BI tools play a vital role. Try to use out-of-the-box security features from BI tools before turning to the custom security implementation. Data encryption, when data encryption to be used, try to use the well-known encryption algorithm from the data storage tools itself. For the system scalability, the things to consider would be scalable architecture and scalable environments. The scalable architecture makes sure to factor in all possible business needs upfront so that there are very less changes afterward. Try to follow open and close principle. meaning systems should be open for extensions but closed for all the modifications. With availability of various cloud providers, scalable environment has become the reality for most of the organizations now. System can now be designed to virtually scale to infinity in vertical as well as horizontal manner. We discussed earlier as to how the embedded analytics could be helpful in satisfying your BI needs. Hybrid approach is what enables you to implement the embedded analytics. You could take advantage of unique features from various tools, languages, and platforms and combine them together to create your own homogeneous platform. The selection of BI tools and technologies is going to determine your development pace. Certain selection would need very high time upfront, but once it is up and live, adding new features would be quick and fast. Other selection could give you quick to market benefit upfront, but any new feature may take a considerable amount of time. Choice would be yours, whether you need rapid development or quick to market benefit. And the last but not the least would be the deployment. An organization, as organizations are adapting to agile software development methodologies, DevOps strategy has become as important as your software development strategy. Or as I always say, DevOps must be coherent part of overall system strategy. Selection of BI tools impact your DevOps process as much as it impacts your development process. With the help of right BI tools, DevOps strategy, and cloud technology, you can destroy and rebuild your BI platforms in minutes, making deployment a piece of cake. So back to you, Bill.
Let's take a look at a case study.
Yeah, so what I'd like to do is just touch on this customer that Bitwise, Looker, as well as Google partnered to really create a fantastic platform for their customers. So this is a customer that is based in Atlanta, Georgia, one of the largest credit card processors in the world, with about 2.6 million customers worldwide. And where they started was from a legacy application that really was somewhat static in nature with the data and did not have an up-to-the-date front end, if you will. So this company went through a very extensive process of identifying technologies that would make this state-of-the-art modern data stack work for their customers. So they did a cloud evaluation. They did a database evaluation, as well as analytics. And when you kind of look at the sheer scale of this, it was petabytes of data, right? We talk about, migrating 9 billion rows of data into BigQuery. It was a massive undertaking. And they had to choose technologies that would scale to the data size, as well as how many users would be accessing the system. So in essence, what they built was this API-driven engine that would allow Looker to be the analytics provider to this JavaScript application. And this application was being utilized by their customers to look at transactions over time, price, demographic, and really what the reason why their head of product initiated this was to differentiate them as a provider in the very competitive marketplace that they're in. So their customers the data. As I mentioned earlier, Looker's strong suit is the ability for end users to now get that data and now drill and filter on that. So where they came from, this company, where their end users were just getting static data, now it was interactive and allowing them to now drill and filter that, and all controlled by a security layer that only allows each of their customers to see what the individual role of that person accessing the data should see. So they gave them the ability to empower their customers, and this has taken the company to the next level and has been a huge success. So here's just a little bit more details around that. But when you look at what Looker provided for this application, it was that kind of single source of the truth that I spoke of, where all of the end users are seeing business terms that they're familiar with, allowing them to have that security, and then also to be able to do this all through an API layer that would allow the company to feed Looker into this JavaScript application and not utilizing our front end. So all our analytics was driven through the application, and this application is utilized for many different aspects of their business, but allowed Looker to be part of that, the analytics provider, to again allow those end users to slice and dice that data to get answers to their questions.
So this is the technical architecture for the system that Bill just explained. This is the embedded analytics platform that was created for the payment processing company, and Bitwise and Looker helped to build this architecture. As Bill mentioned, the Looker was selected as a BI tool after the careful review of the multiple cloud strategy and the evaluation to support the visualization and the self-service capabilities required for reporting, business intelligence, analytics, and other payment processing activities needed for merchant account maintenance and transaction processing. So some of the scenarios that needs to be considered, that was considered while coming up with this architecture, was the large volume of data which was spread across the globe, the strategic decision to migrate all on-premises applications to the Google Cloud. The on-premises BI application was developed in web focus, which they wanted to move away and get into the BI platform, which is more intuitive. In addition to these scenarios, there were some problems that to be solved. The higher cost on-premises platform was one of the problem. The performance issue and the limited UI UX features that hindered the user experience from legacy tool was another one. A client required a reporting tool and the visualization tool that fit within the GCP cloud strategy. The solution needed to meet the stringent business timelines for the migration. And the last one was to facilitate the cultural change among the end users adapting to the new cloud-based application. So if you see this architecture, based upon the considerations that we just discussed, it takes data from various sources throughout the organization, and the data was ranging from mainframe files to the Oracle databases, the SQL databases, on-premises databases, to the Netezza data lake. So all this data has to be brought onto the Google Cloud platform. Google BigQuery was decided to be the data lake hosting storage option, along with the Google Storage bucket and the Cloud SQL. The microservices was designed to interface between the branded application that was developed in the React JS and the API layer, which we just talked about. The microservices would interact with Looker and provide the required data through the Looker APIs to the branded portal on the front end. So a couple of things that I would like to highlight that Looker provided out of the box, which was very important in successful of this architecture. And the first thing was out of the box highly interactive data visualization option. On top of that, they also provided the ability to extend those visualization using the custom JavaScript libraries. And the second feature that was very important in making this architecture successful was the out-of-the-box API capabilities. So if you would like to take a technical deep dive into the similar architectures, please feel free to contact us on the details provided later in this presentation. This is the visualizations that you are seeing on the screen right now. This is the sneak peek into the platform developed using the architecture we just briefly discussed. These are the data visualizations along with the branded reports, which are powered through the custom built microservices on the Looker APIs. So the key result from the implementation of that architecture was the improved performance on the reports and dashboard by 30%. Using the Looker APIs, we also were able to achieve the data as a service model. With Looker data group component, database hits were reduced by up to the 40%, resulting into the enhanced user experience. The second key result was enhanced decision making, in which real-time data insights and interactive data visualizations while handling the large volume of data helped user and the business to make the effective business decisions. It also gave the greater flexibility for end users and business analysts to directly explore the data and create on-the-fly report and visualizations with no SQL knowledge. And the last one is the controlled cost. Because all this infrastructure was cloud hosted, there was no cost in maintaining the on-premises infrastructure. And unlike other reporting tools, there was no cost in running the development of the Looker software. The development of the Looker is fully web-based application, which you can start right into the web browser and take it from there. There is no new or the additional software required.
Thanks, Dhananjay. So to wrap things up here, as you can see, we've got the expertise within end-to-end data lifecycle and data movement with the right partnerships in the BI stack to provide a complete modern BI solution. And if you're looking at exploring use cases or evaluating tools or need help with your strategy and roadmap, Bitwise and Looker can help. Contact us at sales@bitwiseglobal.com and we can explore strategy assessment options or get a deep dive into the case study presented. So there are multiple questions coming in for the question session. Let's quickly get through a couple. Any that we don't get to, we can certainly follow up directly and get you the details that you need. Before I do move into the Q&A, let me thank everyone for joining us today. Thank you for taking time out for the session. And thanks, Dhananjay and Bill, for your presentation. So the first question, I think this is directed towards you, Dhananjay. What are the things to consider while selecting a BI tool?
That's really good question. So it really depends upon the kind of platform you are trying to build. If I have been asked to design the BI platform for the embedded analytics, the things that I would look into would be the out-of-the-box API support, the authentication and authorization support and its extensibility, the data visualization capabilities like drill through, slice and dice, etc. Localization support if you have end users from different language speaking countries, and the thing dedicated technical support from the BI tool. You would say, why is that so important? The dedicated support is important because whenever you're going to start implementing your system, you are going to come across the technical roadblocks. Having dedicated support helps a lot in this case. You need a support team which works with you and not just for you.
Okay. And then, Bill, I think this can be our last question, and then we can wrap up. How long has Google, BigQuery, and GCP been partnering with Looker, even prior to the recent acquisition?
Thanks, Nathan. The relationship has been pretty strong for a number of years. As I mentioned, our founder, Lloyd Tabb, was actually on the Google's what they call technology leaders board, working with some of the brightest minds at Google for years about what we were doing. So years ago, we partnered. I think it was when I joined about 4.5 years ago. Google became a partner, and strategically after that, we partnered with other vendors in the database market and technology leaders. And that partnership has worked well because within Google, we were able to support the native SQL on BigQuery. We were able to support nested queries. So when you think about companies making that investment in BigQuery, that's what they want to hear from their BI vendor. So that was such an easy story to tell when we went on site. And that example we just gave about one of our customers, our joint customers with Bitwise and Looker, that was a big part of why I think we won that opportunity. But what have you seen from a transition as we were purchased by Google? The things that are coming down the pike are really exciting because they have BI Engine, which is their in-memory cache layer that Google's Looker is going to be supporting. Their machine learning, their ability to do natural language processing. So the future is bright with the partnership that started over 4 years ago, and with Lloyd Tabb having that executive level and technical level relationship has really enabled us to work really well with them. So that in general, it's been a fantastic relationship. And speaking for my colleagues, we're super excited to be now part of the Google Cloud Platform.
Good stuff. Thanks, Bill, and thanks, Don and Jay. With that, we will conclude for today. As I mentioned, if we did not get to your question, we'll reach out directly. And even beyond this session, you can always reach out to us at sales@bitwiseglobal.com. And with that, have a great day. Thanks for your time, and thank you, everyone.